It's like movie magic, but with figure photos. Well, hello there everybody, I'm Photo Dave, and this is Toypixx. And whether this is your first or 100th time on the channel, Toypixx is all about helping you and helping me get better at our action figure photography. So if that sounds very cool to you, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Now, as you can see, I have a green screen set up behind me. So what I'm going to do today is set up an action figure scene in front of the green screen, and then we're going to throw it in Photoshop so you can see just how easy it is to pop the green out of the image. If of course you don't use the Hulk and green lightsabers and stuff like that. Otherwise, for that you might want a green screen, and now I'm rambling. So why don't we just get to it, huh? Okay, here we go, gang. Like I said, I was going to set something up in front of the green screen. What we have here is a Mafex Cyclops. Yay. Hooray for all tools everywhere. We have a Maisto, I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it, but one of those motorcycles. And we have a diorama from High School Creations, plus the green screen. So, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to take a shot, pretty much something maybe like this. And the idea here is going to be very simply just going in, taking the shot, and removing the green screen. And if I do it correctly, it should be very easy. And I'm talking about removing it in Photoshop. Now, the idea here is to light the background as evenly as you can. If you can't light it evenly, it becomes a little tougher to cut out in Photoshop. So I don't have the perfect setup. What I would ideally do if I weren't in kind of a confined space is use two softbox lights, and I'll link those in the description below so you know what I'm talking about. Because the large softbox lights will diffuse light more evenly across an area. So the light's not as harsh. If you have a really harsh light hitting this bad boy, then you're going to have a really bright area, and then it's going to get dark in a hurry. So I would have used two softbox lights if I'd had my way. What I'm using instead is the ring light I use when I record my lovely visage. So what I'm going to do is take this shot, and the next time you see me is when I'm playing in Photoshop. Okay, here we are with Scott fresh out of the camera. All I did was paste it in a file that I already have with the Toypixx logo, so I haven't done any kind of editing to it yet. In fact, something I will do, though, real quick, let's crop it. That's one of those little known secrets. One of the ways that you can make it so that you're not getting huge files, at least massive files on Photoshop, is by cropping. Because see, if you see this, you'll notice all the extra stuff I have around the image. So now, all I did was I hit the crop button, and now I'm going to hit enter, and now it's totally cropped. That won't be a factor when it comes to the size of the Photoshop image. Kind of cool stuff. Now, we've got Scott here. I'm going to make a copy of this layer, just in case, because this didn't flatten. It wasn't as even as I would have liked. Like I said, this wasn't the perfect setup for me. Now, what I did was I selected the Magic Wand tool, and I have the tolerance set at 20. I think that's probably about right. So you'll see, one of the nice things about Photoshop is the tolerance. Because, look at that. I click that, and I've selected almost all the green. Now you'll see some fuzzy areas, right? So you'll see around, let's zoom in on something. You'll see, because I set the blur up a little bit, like let's look at the little roof on the Dio here. See this, how there's a little bit of green? What's going to happen here is we can cut out all this green, but what we can also do, now that we've got all this green selected, all we really need to do for areas like that is grab this lasso tool, set the feather, because we want to maintain the blur. So why don't we try setting the feather at 15? Okay, and now what we're going to do, I'm going to hold down Shift and I'm going to left click on the mouse. Okay, and that plus sign that's right there means that I'm adding to the selection. So we're going to scroll down. We're going to add the green to the selection. And because we have the tolerance set the way we do, it's also going to preserve a lot of the blur. Okay, so we're going to drop down, grab all this green, preserving some of the blur around the trash can here. Shout out, by the way, to High School Creations. I use this dio all the time. I love this thing. It's remarkable. Okay, now we're going to come up. See this little tiny spot here? I want to get rid of that too, so we'll just add that to the selection. Now, all that just got added to the selection. Now if we look over here, because it didn't totally flatten out, because the color didn't totally flatten out, we just need to select more. This is just adding to the selection again using the rectangle tool. Let's see a few spots here. This is what I mean. This is the thing that drives me nuts by not having the right tools. If you have the right tools, none of this stuff is a factor. It's easy. You usually take the shot and you're good to go. But you'll see even some of Scott is a little blurry. So we'll end up adding to that selection. But what's going on here, if we were to say put in this dio in the background, and we didn't want the dio in the background, then what would happen is we'd have to go through and we'd have to find certain areas to cut out and everything else. With a green screen, you're basically finding just one color that you can get rid of. Now you can use a select color as well option that's in Photoshop, but in my experience it doesn't do a great job. For some people maybe it does. For me, maybe I'm just not good enough, but it just hasn't done great when it comes to the work I've done before. So now we're back to our tolerance of 15. We're going to select more around the edges here. And this, by the way, is something we'd have to do even with a perfect setup. If you're blurring it, you're going to get a blur effect that you're going to need to get rid of. You can also do this a different way by going ahead and cutting out all the regular green and then changing hue and saturation. But when you're doing it to a bunch of different areas, sometimes it doesn't just work out as well as you'd like. So I prefer to knock all this stuff out before I get into heavy post work. Okay, so we've just added all that. Let's add this. You can see I have a little bit of a Bob Ross thing going here. Ooh, happy blur. Alright. Keep adding a little more. Again, this is just green that's along the edge. It doesn't need to be there. Now, I took away a little too much in this area. So now I'm going to hit the Alt key and we're going to subtract from the green selection and bring some of that back in. Right, here we go. Once again, all these stinking little spots, that's me not having a perfect light source set up. So if you've got a couple softboxes set up and you've got a green screen set up, all those things that I'm getting rid of probably aren't going to happen to you. Now, up here, I had everything set very clearly for Scott. Sorry about that. Apparently my touchpad is going nuts. But we shouldn't have to do too much around there. We might do a little bit, but not tons. But down here, you can see it's mostly his hand that we've got to cut around. And I'm going to change the feather to 10. Okay, because it's not insanely blurry. It's just a little blurry. And again, we're just adding selection. And what the feather's doing is it's going to, like I said, keep that blur a little bit. We might lose a tiny bit of yellow but it's not going to do anything that's going to drastically alter the quality of the shot. Okay. And yet I'm there looking at that thinking, well, that's no good. I got to make an adjustment there. 10 might be too much. But let's just keep playing and see what we get. Da-da-da-da-da. Anybody hear any good music lately? Oh no, I got nothing. My music tends to be soundtracks. Blues Brothers. If you haven't heard the Blues Brothers soundtrack, that's one of the best soundtracks ever. Comment below, let me know what soundtrack you've got on your playlist that you really dig. Okay, so we've pretty much cut around Cyclops. We've done all the grunt work. And now, we just look at the image, see what we got, see if anything else is standing out to us. And if everything looks kosher, you just click Command X, and green screen's gone. Now, what I'll do tomorrow is I'm going to show you how, after getting rid of the green screen, we can add a new background. That's going to be fun. So, let's get to that outro. So you might be wondering, why are green screens used so often in movies and even corporate photo shoots, to be honest? And the reason is, you only see this color green one time a year. And yes, friends, that is St. Patrick's Day. So when you saw what I was doing, where I was cutting out that green, it wasn't really affecting anything else, because that green doesn't really get used even on toys, except for the Hulk. And in that instance, you want a blue screen. Yep. Hulk smash green, I guess. I don't know. I'm making things up as I go along. So, comment below. Let me know if this video was helpful. Let me know if you're looking forward to tomorrow's, where I'm going to insert a background and then blend it all together so it looks like, hey, it was all shot at the same time. Good times. As always, I'll leave the Amazon affiliate links in the description below of everything you saw in the photo, as well as those soft boxes. And, of course, the surprise ridiculous thingy that I've come to just throw in these links just to give everybody a laugh. And at that point, if you're on Amazon anyway and you need anything to pick up, go ahead and do that, navigate from there. That always helps out the channel, as does the fact that you've actually watched it this long or watched it at all. I really appreciate it, folks. Everybody out there, have fun and happy snapping. See ya.